Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to do possibly a quick reading today, but I wanted to come on and powwow and maybe pant together a little bit. I don't know about you, but the last 6 days have been so incredibly intense for me, and just lots of different things on lots of different levels and lots of different directions and all at once, to the point where I had to become an octopus and just handle everything, and it'd be like one thing after another, and each of those things would have like different components to it, and it was just like major multi-dimensional multitasking and really, really intense. So I feel like I'm just kind of getting a breather from that. And of course, we're 2 days out from the eclipse and then the equinox, and then we have that new moon as well. And so, yeah, I kind of feel like just hanging in there. I feel like I'm just kind of hanging in there until all this is over, because it doesn't feel over yet. What it feels like to me. And so what happened for me, the first thing that happened for me, and you might be relating to this, is I got hit really, really hard with the solar winds. So we had strong solar winds coming in Sunday and Monday. So that would have been, I don't know the dates. I don't even really know what day it is. I'm like so out of it, but I got really super altered with them. First I felt really anxious and then dizzy and nauseous, didn't want to eat, like headache. It was just like I got hit in all the energy centers kind of all at once. They were like bouncing around, taking turns. And then the next night I got hit in my heart. And I used to get hit in my heart with the solar winds. I would have trouble breathing. I'd be really short of breath, and I'd have rapid heart rate and the sort of like palpitations and stuff like that. And then it, moved more into my neck, and it was like that for like a year. I would just have like neck pain and headaches and stuff. And this time, like I said, it was like everywhere. And I don't know what was different about this one. I mean, we are in the eclipse and there's all this crazy astrology. And then we have all these comets and like 3i Atlas and then like two other ones. And of course, our sun is the broadcaster, it's the antenna, and it's the transmitter. So it's broadcasting to us not only its own solar consciousness, but the consciousness that it's receiving and then putting towards us. So I feel that part of why things are so intense right now is because we're having this like other consciousness coming in and being broadcasted to us. And so yeah, so just I got hit super hard, and I woke, and I've been having stuff with my kids. Both of my kids, my daughter broke her nose boxing, so we had to go oh my God, and then we had to go to urgent care. She had a suspicious tick bite from Morocco that we had to get checked out. And then we had to go to the hospital and get her x-rays. And then my son was having like dental surgery. And so there was like all this stuff and like holding space for all of it and myself, because I was like, am I going to end up in the hospital this time? Like, I knew I wasn't going to die because I've confronted my death enough times that I'm like, no, I intuitively know it's not my time, but I'm like, I don't know if I need to have like a hospital experience with a heart attack or something. Like, maybe I've had so many nights with the heart stuff, and it's always the energies, it's like and even that night, like I would be like, oh my God, I can breathe. Oh my God, I can breathe all of a sudden. And I'd look on the space weather app, and I would see that the solar winds would drop, like 40, 50, 80 kilometers per second. And I'd get a little bit of breath, and then they'd go back up, and I could feel it, I'd feel it, and then I'd look. And so it was directly related to that. Of course, the magnetic field that the sun is affecting is the same of our heart. So it's very common to have heart stuff during this. If you are having heart stuff, like check out the space weather, like track it, see what the solar wind is doing. If you're having shortness of breath, you feel like something's sitting on your chest, you can't breathe, which can throw you into a panic, which can get your heart rate going really strong. And so I woke up and I was a little bit concerned about my daughter, because we have been in urgent care. So it's like just being in the doctor's office for me kind of kicks up some anxiety for me. And I was talking to my son about it, and I was like, I don't even think, or I was talking to somebody about it, might have been my friend, but I don't even think it's just like, I get nervous around like doctor, because I wasn't always like that. It's almost like as we get more sensitive, we can feel the distortions in that field. We can feel the inception point, the mind spell that's connected with the medical system. And not that it isn't helpful at certain times for certain things, but there's just so much like black magic interwoven that I feel like as I've gotten more sensitive, just being in that, it's like your survival instincts or your spidey senses, where it's like, something's off here. But it was that night that I woke up and I felt like I was in a panic. And I know it was related to the solar stuff, because I was tracking it on the phone, but I think it might not have been as bad if I wouldn't have had like sort of the concerns about her. And she was really worked up. She thought she had Lyme's disease, and oh my God, and she's so active, and you know what I mean? insane. It was just like hours of like, because I had to drive home from the desert house, so the whole time I'm on the phone with her coming home, take her to urgent care, and she's freaking out, you know, and I was just like calm as a cucumber. I was just like steady the whole time, and then my son was nervous about his procedures, and so I'm holding space for him, but then I wake up in the middle of the night, and it's like boom, boom, you know, going through my own thing and having to hold space for myself. And so I'm like tapping, you know, like even though I feel like I'm gonna die, I trust that I am safe, you know, this kind of thing, and just the self-talk and get my feet on the earth and getting the electrolytes and just breathing, you know, just breathing and then what I tuned into at that point, you know, so that was that second night, and then I had like 4 more days of like just insane, you know, intensity, but I tuned into the energy again, and I found that gratitude where it was like, whether it's 3i Atlas or the other comets, or because, you know, it's like as we become more sensitive and we expand our consciousness, it's not just individual consciousness, it's collective consciousness and planetary consciousness and solar consciousness and galactic consciousness, and so it's all us. We can feel it as all us, so I could feel that it was the larger me that wanted to bring me home, that wanted to merge with me, you know, and my little human self and my nervous system and my, you know, my body and my fears and the programming were getting kicked up. But I came back to that surrender where it was like, this is for me. This isn't against me, and there's nothing wrong, and I'm not a victim of anything, you know, this is helping me. This is helping me. So I just relaxed and surrendered. But I could feel the interference too. Like the dreams were really weird. And like I have this thing whenever there's like a, whether it's my own shadow coming off, which of course it always is. It's always a fractal, right? Or a bit of an overlay. I think there's been a lot of dark kicked up. I know a lot of us have had a lot of psychic attack and stuff like that going on as well. But I'll have these, like as I'm falling asleep, there will be these dream images of like faces, like these faces, and they'll be really up close. Like it's almost like I get a download of the individual, but then they look at me in this really weird way. You know, it's kind of this like, you know, just like dementia, you know, just this weird thing in this frequency, and it's almost like, you know, you just bat it out of the way, and then another one will come and another one. So every time I fell asleep, you know, there was some weird, you know, frazzled image, and of course my energy was frazzled, and so it was one of those nights. And so I slept about 3 hours, and then the next day, you know, my son and my ex-husband came, and then we all, you know, they wanted to, like, we were gonna hang out and go to the coffee shop, and oh my gosh, and it was just so, I had to be in like all these different again, frequencies and dimensions at once, and kind of handling all the things. And so anyway, it was just super intense. But so what I feel from this energy is just a lot of intensity and a lot of like different levels, and my daughter's going through the same thing. So she had the tick scare, which ended up being okay. Then immediately went into the ER to get the scan for the x-ray for the nose, found out her nose was broken. I had to deal with that. So I've been processing that. And then she's like, well, do I go back to boxing? And, you know, so she's been having her thing, and then my son was having his thing. And then it's just a lot, right? Like a lot of, I don't know if you're feeling this, but this is what it feels like to me. A lot of different levels and a lot of different angles at once, almost where like the ego, even though it's flailing, you know, it's flailing and kicking up, or the nervous system or the anxiety or whatever. It's like you have to just move through it and handle it. And that's how I felt. I turned into an octopus. I had my 8 arms, and I just fucking handled it, you know, and I feel like I did actually pretty well, you know. I did really quite well, but I was also sort of melting as well, you know. I was having that anxiety response, and so it was like, you know, my conscious mind was doing well, and my subconscious and my body were really struggling. And so it's just being pushed to the limit, you know, being pushed to the limit. I've been pushed to the limit many times, but it was always like one thing. It was like one thing. So you could just focus on that. But this one was like so many different things all at once. I don't know if that's a me thing or if that's a collective thing. I don't know. But intensity, at any rate. A lot of intensity, and yet being forced to rise to the occasion because you can't do anything else. You can't back down. It's like being pushed through the eye of that needle or something, where, you know, it is kind of that ego death energy. So in a lot of those, the last 2 readings, there was all this like, especially 2 readings ago, there was all this like ego death energy, you know, and I was viewing it in terms of the world, in terms of like things falling and structures falling, and of course that's going on as well, but on a real personal level, it's like just being like squished, where you have to rise to the surface. You have to rise to the surface to navigate these situations. I know for some of us, I have talked with some other people that were going through a lot of intensity, of course, in my immediate family. We all were, but yeah, and just kind of that crunch, just a really huge crunch, and a really huge powerful eclipse and huge powerful passage. But what I felt from that energy, and I think that's what feels like the summary to me, what I felt from the energy that night was that it was me trying to get me into position with my largest version of myself. And so anything that was still a little bit off, and I could feel it, I was like, well, it's something in my heart, it's something in my attachment, or something I'm not letting go of. It's like it wasn't coming up. I haven't had the clarity yet, and I know that that's what solar eclipses are about, is that clarity and that illumination. Again, it's the sun, it's the solar. And so I might have more of that as time goes on, but even still, it's like when things are being worked on that subconscious level, or in that cellular or that body level, there's still things happening, even if you're not clear. The clarity may or may not come later, but you might later feel like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I'm finally catching my breath from all this, and I can see and feel that I'm different. Even like when I would look in the mirror, like even now I look kind of weird, it's like I would look in the mirror and be like, holy shit, like when you're in like caterpillar soup and you're like, oh, I'm transforming again, like I look weird, like my features look disproportionate, and like I look, just odd. And then when you settle, you look different, like you've just youthed, like you've gained more of your strands or something, and you've cleared things, and you have more of yourself. So also being sort of disoriented and a little bit out of body and that type of thing were a lot with the upper chakras. And I always notice that with the heart stuff, where I then start getting a lot of downloads. So I do look forward to that. I look forward to that. But anyway, I think I am going to jump into the cards here and just see what wants to come through right now for these energies. So again, today is Friday that I'm filming this. I'll probably post on Saturday. So if you're watching this first day I post, the eclipse will be the very next day. And so the overall energy that we get for this reading is life is speeding up. And that is definitely what I'm feeling. Just the super, super fast pace, where it's like no time to sit down, no time to reflect, no time to hesitate. Like you just got to keep going, because it keeps coming at you. And if you don't keep hitting the balls or catching the balls, then what? You're juggling. You gotta keep going. And so that's definitely the energy that I have been feeling and experiencing. It's a number 2. Just noticing that kind of collaboration energy. And that's what I'm feeling with my soul, like my lower self and my higher self, or my soul and my human. There's this collaboration, this coming together, and everything being in service of that, no matter what's playing out in your life. That's what I'm really feeling, and that's what I found in the middle of that sort of intense night. That was the clarity that really came through. Yeah, so the three of air speaking of the heart, it might be a literal heartache because you can't breathe and you're, having a panic attack or like arrhythmia or whatever it is, the heart really expressing a lot. I remember when I was going through this 3 years ago, and my daughter said something really, really, really profound to me, and it felt so true to me, where she was like, Mama, why does it have to be a bad thing that your heart is responding in this way? What if your heart is excited? And so it's that same kind of energy of like our bodies and our souls knew that this time was coming. They know how to go through an ascension process. They know how to do it. It's our conditioning and our fears that make us contract. And the more we contract and the more we're afraid, and the more we're going to feel. And that's what I found 3 years ago. I was so afraid. I thought I was going to die. I never went to the hospital because I'm even more afraid of hospitals than I wasn't before. It's that like intuition or something, that spidey sensing something. But I knew I would have a panic attack if I went into the into a hospital. And so I never did. I never did. I was just sort of like just breathe through it. And I was having dreams and I was having downloads. And so I was just trusting my intuition. There were synchronicities with other people, but yeah, I forget what I was going to say. When I was going through that before, I was being really guided. I was being guided to, so I was afraid. When I was afraid, I would have symptoms for days and days and weeks, and it would just go on and on. But eventually, I learned to just view it through that higher perspective and to be grateful for it, to be grateful for the body's symptoms, even though, when your heart is involved, it's really scary because that's it. We need this. You got a bellyache, who cares? You got a neck ache, whatever, headache, who cares? Your heart, that's really, really scary. That's what keeps us alive. And yet, for me, I had always had certain dreams about tsunamis, and they were, and right before all this started for me, I had done a painting, and it was this painting of this woman, and she was leaning over the earth. She was leaning over the earth, and above her were like these fire points, and like they were coming from the sun, when they're coming down on her. And I wrote on it, and this was just channeled. Like I wasn't experiencing any of this yet, but I channeled, I think I wrote, the light is coming through us. So it was like she was anchoring it down onto the earth, but it was coming through her onto the earth. And shortly after that, maybe like a week after that, I had my first experience with a flare where it hit me really hard, and it hit me through the heart center. And so I had guidance, but I was really afraid to trust the guidance and trust the intuition and the synchronicity with other people that were feeling the same things, or like the number synchronicities right when I was really worried, matched up with the song and just all this guidance that I was safe and that I could trust this. And I would channel in the middle of the night, and I would write things down, and then I would read them later. But I was like, you're just crazy, you're gonna die, like you have children, like just go get checked out. But it took me a really long time, but eventually I trusted. Eventually I trusted, and I started feeling gratitude for those moments. Because what I noticed is after a really intense passage with the solar activity and with a body response, especially through the heart, I would look 10 years younger, or however many years younger. Afterwards, I would have all this clarity and these downloads. And so I started realizing that there were benefits, and that it was a consciousness thing rather than a medical thing, and so, but it took a long time. And once I started getting into that gratitude place, it would move through really quickly. It would move through in like a night instead of like days or weeks or months, which is what it was in the beginning. Also, if you're doing that and you're moving through the fear, I feel that some of us, and I've said this before in readings, I feel that a lot of us, or some of us, or a percentage of us, have signed up to take on really, really scary kind of health things, to health reactions in relation to these ascension energies, in order to deprogram ourselves around the medical spell and the fear of our bodies, and listening to that higher intuition and transcending the whole thing around the body and around the medical system and around fear. And then that being that sort of structured water out into the collective, where if one person overcomes that within themselves, it affects many, it affects many, not even in talking about it or being a support like this, but even just in existing, because and everything starts with energy, right? So that transmission is there, spaced around, again, the grid work, the light work that we're doing, spaced in different locations, but representing that frequency in your area and in that part of the grid, and so a lot with it, and just doing that on different levels. And for me, it took me a really long time. It took me, like every 2 weeks I'd have some sort of body scare where I'd have to go back in again. And it was like an initiation, until you finally deprogram it. I have a friend that did that in 2019. She did it right before the year with, all that, in 2020. And I felt like she was a stabilizer for how much fear was around our bodies. And she had to go on Ativan. She was like, she had so much anxiety, she needed some help, but she did it. She deprogrammed herself. And she goes through the heart stuff too, with the solar stuff. So I was like, was your heart crazy last night? She's like, yeah, and that kind of thing. But she just doesn't have any fear. Like she was like feeling like she was, going through this. The next day she just goes to the gym. And she's like, most people wouldn't be going to the gym after that. But she's just not afraid, she knows what it is. She's been through it. And so I think, some of us do that, and we're doing it for everyone, because again, these programs are trapping systems, and they are spells, and they do keep us stuck in distancing our power and creating our own health issues by latching onto diagnoses and these types of things, identifying with illnesses, looking outside of ourselves, this type of thing. It's been so normalized and encouraged, and there's so much fear. And like anytime I go back home and I'm visiting families, like, oh, so and so, and all the health things, and I have to be like, like I create my reality with my beliefs, and this isn't the reality that I'm choosing to create, and just doing it differently, doing it through consciousness. And some of us are just called to do that. So something to consider if you do have a lot of the body symptoms with the flares, or just in general, check out the flares, see if it matches up. The solar winds are really big. We are coming out of the solar maximum. That was, started 3 years ago. So you might be feeling things dying down. But yeah, again, it's like, it's just 1919 on the timer there. And so anyway, yeah, it's just this past one, sorry, I'm translating 1919. So it's like 10-1-1, another 2. Yeah, and so it felt like things were really calm, and then it got kicked up again, which I think says a lot about what's going on right now in the energies and in our process and in our journeys. And so the other thing, that I have been aware of in the few people that I've been, because I've been in it, I've been in a trial right now, but is that a lot of like false fear, a lot of fear coming up, and then realizing that you really had nothing to fear. You know, like my daughter with the tick, or my son, he was supposed to have dental surgery and he ended up not needing it. Like he was so nervous and he went in and they were going to like scrape off parts of his wisdom teeth, his gum off his wisdom teeth so they could fill cavities, but they didn't have to, so he didn't have to have the surgery part at all. And he saved like $500, you know, and it was just like this whole Christmas experience. So it was like, again, that extreme fear, and then realizing that you're okay and that there's actually, you know, grace, and just seeing the synchronicity and seeing that. And so I feel like that's sort of maybe the point of this as well, because I was just talking about like with the medical world and the fear and like overcoming our fears, like a lot. I don't know if you're relating to this. This might just be specific to my family. It might be presenting to you in a different way, but I do kind of feel like there's a lot, because the fear is what keeps us from our freedom. It's what keeps us from our power and from our co-creation and from really living in that higher alignment. And so I was seeing how my nervous system is still so afraid, and she just gets all kicked up and she wants to panic. And even though I consciously understand, you know, and I've been trying to reprogram my subconscious, it's like there's still deeper levels of realizing that this is a safe universe. And it reminds me of that dream that I've talked about this before, and I've shared it on Facebook a couple times. I've shared the memory because it was such a great dream. Like I was sitting, I might be confusing this with a different dream, but it was something about these words being typed out in front of me, and it said, choose to look for evidence that this is a safe universe. That this is a safe universe. And so that came through, you know, as like a written message, you know, in my dream, which is huge, because how many times can you actually like read in your dream or like see something or remember it, you know? So it was really profound. And I feel like that's kind of what we're in. So we've been talking about reprogramming our neural pathways and that type of thing, like just realizing that we're not victims of anything, and that we are creating this through choosing to turn towards and reflect on ourselves and come back to our souls and to our inner knowing and to our intuition, and choosing to trust it, you know, and choosing to trust it instead of distancing our power into like spiritual shoulds, or, you know, the medical system, or, you know, what society says you should do, or just really pulling it back to ourselves. And I feel like that's what our souls are not inviting, like literally like forcing us to do right now. It's like, again, Cali time, that ego death, like it was coming up at a couple readings ago, and it's happening for all of us on whatever level we're needing it. And some of us is in those real core beliefs, and the belief in victim, the belief in fear, you know, or the alliance with fear, you know, and just coming out of that and really, really surrendering. And so that's what I felt I had to do, was this radical surrender, like whatever the outcome was for my daughter and her situation, whatever it was for my son, and whatever it was for me, and just trusting and letting go and letting the action and the motion flow through you. For me, I kind of had to, because there was so much going on. I just had to jump in and become an octopus and handle it all. All right, let's see what else. That was too many. I'm not going to take that many. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Oh, the Seven of Cups. Well, that's interesting. So here this is Seven of Cups is kind of like, especially in this deck, it's really coming through like this, where, wow, I just noticed that there's a snake here. There's a snake coming through, and that's coming, that just caught my attention. And so I have been feeling that as well, that like the snake medicine, where like, especially because I live in the desert, I live in New Mexico, and so there's rattlesnakes around, and I actually haven't seen one in a couple years, which is really bizarre, but I used to see them all the time. And so it's like that rattlesnake medicine, where you take the poison in to transmute it. So again, that's kind of what I was talking about with the medical system, where you take on the fear, you take on the trauma, you take on the struggle to transmute it for all. So there's something about that too. And this is like the choice, you know, the choice that you're making. You have all these cups, and like, which one are you intuitively choosing? And I'm kind of seeing this as our soul. See how there's this, there's a ladder here, like indicating that upper level, and then there's also one here indicating that lower level. So there's that like soul and human thing, where our souls are reaching to us right now, and it's almost like, remember, look at how big he is, you know, like remember that choice that you made, remember that mission that you signed up for, remember you were going to take this on. There's something about this is like a channel, there's something about our missions right now and our original soul choices that we came here for, that's almost being like illuminated right now. So again, that life speeding up and that compression, where it's like whatever's happening, whatever's falling away, whatever's coming online, whatever's being kicked up in that like heartache, or that that fear space, or yeah, it's heartache, but it's also coming through as fear. It's that reminder that you're doing a piece. This is a thing that you're clearing at this point in human evolution with this eclipse right now, with all these comets coming in, reminding us of those larger aspects of ourselves, those parts of the galaxy, those far out reaches of our consciousness and our souls that we've been capped from, that are like starting to leak in. It's like reminding us that we chose to go through certain things to assist humanity, but also to free ourselves, but also to free humanity. Am I making sense? There's something about that soul choice and that stream. Like, this is the life stream. Here's the higher level, here's the lower level, and here's the stream that flows through, that takes us. That's that life speeding up, where we have to just flow. We have to remember that we chose this, and even the crunchy parts are part of what we're doing, and to flow with it and to allow it and to trust it. So that's sort of an interesting way that the Seven of Cups is coming through. It is about intuition and what you're choosing intuitively, but there's definitely a higher self message. There's so much with the higher self and the soul right now, trying to remind us, reminding us through crunches and speediness and kind of like an overwhelm, like just like that, like that, where you're kind of like, oh my gosh, and then something comes through. That's what it feels like to me. Okay, so the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups, which is funny because in the first deck I ever had, the mother piece, it was an octopus, where it's like you're feeling so many things at once, and you don't even know what you're feeling. You have all the different emotions all at once, and that's kind of this energy too. Usually I read this card as a letting go or a leaving behind, but it's definitely coming, and it is that, but it's like, well, how are we doing that? We're doing that by, again, the slap, getting hit on all these different levels, and having your, all of the things at once, where you don't even have time to sit and do this. It's like, this is what the soul did before it came down here, but now we're down here, we're just floating through the stream. We don't have time to remember or reflect on anything. It's just we have to let the emotions to dissolve us. And so that's what I've been feeling, and that's what I've been kind of advising my daughter, but she just has to go through her own process. And she came to that clarity as well. Like, it's not something to figure out with our minds, it's something to allow that radical acceptance, allow all those things that are bombarding us and hitting us to chisel away what needs to be chiseled away, or to create a dent where some light can get in, or something like that. Just at this point in the game, just like flow with it, and allow it to happen, and allow that overwhelm. It's almost like the more overwhelming it is, the better. The more you're getting bitch slapped, and the more you're like, oh my God, I'm spinning. I don't know what day it is. Am I dying? Is she dying? Like, what's going on? The more that's happening, the more you're being shaken loose. The more this is a letting go card. So the more you're being shaken loose of the things that aren't in alignment, or maybe we're priorities or desires based on unworthiness, or trying to prove to yourself that you were okay, or something that society told you should have, or something that you've always had and now you've outgrown it, or whatever it is, shaking those things loose. You can see here also all these different cups, almost like trophies, trophies on the wall, and it's like all the things that are being shaken loose and shattering on the ground, shattering. My daughter, a long time ago, she was talking about like a snow globe, and she was like, people walk around and they, you don't want to break the snow globe, and you can spend your whole life like trying not to break the snow globe because you just want to keep it like that. But when you break the snow globe, you get to have, the snowman, and you get to hold them, and you get to have them, And so she was just thinking about that, like she just wanted to break that snow globe and get those pieces out. But it was so symbolic to me, where it's like, all these little things that we want to hold on to, it's like, when we allow them to shatter, there are things underneath that we find, all these things underneath these cups, things that our soul had chosen long ago, but we didn't have access to because we had too many things built around them, because we were in our forgetting, and so again, coming out of the forgetting, and whatever piece you're working on, whether it's your health and the medical system and that type of thing, or maybe it has to do with something else, whatever the program is that you and your group, your soul group that you're working on are unraveling at this time. It's part of freeing yourself and freeing freeing others, and freeing those larger aspects of yourself to come in. And again, the energies that are coming through our solar consciousness and our galactic consciousness, and through the comets, and through coming into the middle of the night, that kind of jacks up our bodies. And that's the other thing. I remember listening to this man. I should have saved the video or written down his name. And it's just like a mental note when you hear something that really strikes you. Like, don't assume me. Like, I can't assume that I'm going to remember. And anyway, it was this German doctor, and he was talking about how our bodies, I forget what it was in our bodies. Was it our tellurides? I don't know, but something in our bodies that registers energy. And he was speaking of it in terms of like a virus. And so when a virus comes around, this part of our body assesses whether or not we need it. So he was viewing all of these things that. Oh, that was my big singing bowl. Sometimes the tone of my voice or somebody's voice will make it ring. And I thought it was, I've been having a lot of ringing in my ears. Anyway, I'm basically insane right now. And so anyway, anything that's coming in at us, that our body discerns whether, okay, he views everything that's coming in at us as an upgrade or a cleanse or a purge, so that our bodies are, that whatever that part is in us discerns whether or not, I wish I remembered the science, that's why I wish I would have written it down, but anyway, it discerns whether or not we need that. And so there are these things in us that open up to receive it. And if we don't need it, if we've already received that upgrade or that cleanse, then they don't open, but they do open if they need it. And so I feel that it's similar. I was relating that to the solar energies or the cosmic energies that are coming in. If you're at a place in your life where you're ready to receive that download or that upgrade or that piece of information that's going to then purge and cleanse you, then you open to it. And so we can trust when we're getting hit by these stuff, because again, it's our soul's choice or our body's choice, or the wisdom within our bodies that's connected to our souls that knows what we need, that's going to open to it. So whatever, just like if you get a virus and you're really, really sick, but it's activating something in you and it's purging something in you, and we up level from these things. I don't know if you've ever noticed that after a cold or a flu, that you just feel amazing and clear and different. It's like you get taken offline, you get a fever, you do all the things, and then you get transformed. It's transformation. It has its place. It's why it exists. And same thing with it now. As we increase in our sensitivity and our consciousness, we start to commune with the solar consciousness and the galactic consciousness. So those are aspects of ourselves as well. So we're receiving that energy. We're receiving more of ourselves, and we're opening to that if we're ready for that and if we need that. So if you are having a lot of symptoms, you don't see it as, you don't have to view it as that you're a victim or you're weak or your body's weak. It's like, no, you're ready. You're ready because your consciousness has expanded to that level to be able to merge with that and to be able to take that in and allow it to transform you. And it's just, again, the medical stuff really gets in the way, because it's the doctors, they don't understand this stuff. They're just going to slap some label on you, or they're going to be like, I don't know, you seem fine, and yeah, but it's like to trust what's going on, and to trust our own expansion and our own intuition and our own connection, and to know. And one of the most helpful things we can do is to remind our subconscious that our bodies and our souls know exactly how to do this. We know how to release. We know how to release, and we know how to receive, because our souls are the ones that chose it. So we're going to intuit, not only we're going to intuit what we need for support. We're going to intuit. We're going to know how to do it. We're going to know how to do it because it's our souls are on board with this, right? And we're going to know how to release, and so we can relax. We can relax into these passages and allow the wisdom of our body and our souls to do their thing, and we can trust it. And I know it's really hard, but if you are going through this, then you're part of one of the ones that's coming through with the fear program and dissolving the fear program within yourself, dissolving the mind control, distancing our power to a medical system and a system that's very boxed into the 3D. This is multidimensional where we're going, so we have to trust, and we have to lean into our multidimensionality. And it's almost like, I would say, I need to put all of my eggs in the basket of consciousness. And if I die and I was wrong, I'd rather that happen than stay in a box and stay in the confines out of fear and not trusting myself. So it's just going over that threshold. And I feel like this is a time when we're being forced to go over, because it's just, things are happening really fast, really, really fast. Okay, so let me do a little bit more here. Okay, let's see what we get. Oh, resilience. Yeah, wow. So this is the resilience. This actually does look like a heart to me, and kind of looks like heart valves and a little bit of the shape of the heart. And I think it's actually, I don't know, what is that? I don't know what that is. I mean, that's like a tree. So this is, yeah, but there's these interesting shapes with this. Anyway, it's reminding me of a heart in this moment, and again, just the resiliency of our hearts, the resiliency of our bodies, because this is like caterpillar to butterfly time, and it's like the caterpillar has the imaginal discs. It knows how to turn into a butterfly. Its body knows how to do it, and it doesn't fear. It just goes through it, and it becomes liquid, and it has that. We have that resiliency as well. We came here for this ascension, especially if you're experiencing these symptoms, then you're part of the leading edge team. You're connecting to the wider consciousness, that again, the collective, the planetary, the solar, the galactic. You're connecting wider out, and so you're feeling them, and they're affecting you. Your body says, yes, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this upgrade, and just trusting the resiliency of our hearts, of our bodies, of our souls, of our, and there is a threshold. This is like crossing over a threshold right now. And also the twos, the twos. So like when I saw it up there, the 1919. We're assisted. We have our higher selves. We have our higher aspect. Even the solar energy, the very energy that's coming through us and kind of jacking us up, it's us too. It's in partnership. It's in partnership with us, and just kind of changing the perspective on that to not only get out of the fear, but to transmute the fear through yourselves, and for the collective, that transmutation, and the service in that. Okay. So hopefully some of you are relating to this message. It's not going to be for everybody out there. To Shakti transformation, exactly. That's what we're going through right now. We're going through a transformation, and it's coming out right under this life is speeding up, and so we're being carried. We're being carried by the larger parts of ourselves that understand, and again, trusting that message of trusting the resiliency of our bodies and the resiliency of our humans as well, and just knowing that this is about leaving behind that which is not in alignment with the largest versions of ourselves, and welcoming in. And it's just so powerful to turn towards something that's scaring you and to say, I know you're for me. I know you're for me, and I trust, and I surrender, and I breathe, and I trust my resiliency. I trust the resiliency of my body. I trust that which I have not yet remembered, and that surrender. And even if it's breaking your heart, literally or figuratively, just knowing that it's all trying to help you. It's all trying to help you. It's helping you to transform. Shakti, that's our soul. That's our energy. That's she who never stops moving, which is so interesting. That's coming out after life is speeding up. She who never stops moving. She's fluid. She's the water. She's the flow. So here's this again, flowing through it all, that radical acceptance, no matter what it is, moving like water, moving like transformation, viewing everything in terms of activation, and knowing that you are that. You are Shakti. You are this energy. It's just trying to reconnect you. It's trying to reconnect you to who you really are through your crown, through that activation, through that transformation. So beautiful. Wow. Okay. So, and then what do we get? Oh, boundaries. Interesting. So boundaries, and look at how she's like in this protective bubble. But the way I'm viewing this is like she's like blocked herself off, and there's all this like light and this energy that's like trying to reach her. So I'm kind of seeing this as a message along with the other energies here of like trusting what's coming for you. And it's sort of our survival instinct to protect ourselves, and so when I first started feeling the solar energy, I had, and that was around the time that I listened to that talk with that German guy, where it was almost like I had a conversation with my body and my subconscious, where I was like, I know that you're afraid, and I know that you want to protect me, but this is actually a good thing. It's like I had to bridge between the light and my human and my fear, and like let it know that like you can open to this, and you can receive it, and it's actually for you. And again, it took me a really long time to get to that point because I was really afraid. And a lot of it is like, we do need to protect ourselves in the 3D. We need to protect ourselves from dogs that want to attack us, and like car accidents and sharks, and and diseases, even though they can up level us as well. It's like and it's interesting because this light is kind of trickling in, and look, there's that like white, it almost looks like a magnolia flower for me, which is it's like my flower totem, the magnolia flower, and it's helped me through a lot of really hard passages. I don't know if you've ever smelled magnolia oil. Oh my God, so amazing. And there's a real ancient purity to the magnolia flower. So again, it's like that ancient remembrance, that connecting to something really, really pure and really, really primal in you. And so that scent really, really helped me. It really, really helped me. And so there it is floating in, and she sees it, she sees it, but she's like, I'm scared, and it's like this light's trying to trickle into her, and there's so much it has to offer, and yet she feels so vulnerable, and she's protecting herself. But there's something about just like kind of tapping that bubble. It's just a little bubble, it's like somebody blew it, and it went around her, and all she has to do is tap it and allow that to come in. And so, but there is a choice with this as well, because we can choose to resist. We're kind of just resisting ourselves. We're resisting our own energy trying to come to us, and that can make it really hurt. So this is coming out under the heart card, where it's kind of like what causes the pain is the resistance. What's trying to clear is the resistance and the shutdown and blocking yourself off from life because you didn't feel safe, and maybe it wasn't safe, because you were abused, or you were made fun of, or you were outcast, or you were different, so you had to block it off. And so that's kind of your pattern. But now it's like it's time to open up, because the frequency of the planet is starting to match you in all your magicalness. You don't need to block it off anymore, but it's a pattern and a habit, and all that constriction, it affects our fashion, it affects our organs, and it affects our energy levels, and affects, like we were talking about last time, the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid. If we're in a pretzel, it can't get through, and we can't hear our higher messages. So it's like it's trying to let us know, like it's safe now. That's why these energies are pouring in. It's why we're in a solar gain. It's why we have all these comets, which is actually our wider consciousness that coming in to assist us, and to remind us it's coming in because it's time. And so it's like just making that choice, choosing that, having that affirmation, retraining your mind to know that it's not only safe now to let it in, but it's imperative, because this energy is coming in on us, and it's clearing away these blocks. And the more we resist, the longer it's going to take, and the more that we're going to suffer. So there is a real message of just having the courage to let down the guard, and to trust, and to breathe through it, tap through it, affirm through it, and just work with the subconscious. I write down mantras a lot. Like I said, I would channel in the middle of the night, and it was all this like, ascension stuff, and it was great, and it was wonderful. But my human self was scared, but I would read it. I would read it back to myself over and over and over again until I believed it. So anyway, a lot with that, with just the trusting, and then letting down the guard, because things are different now, and it's time. We came in, a lot of us came in coded for ascension. We came in coded for this time, but we were in a lot of density, and you might have been raised like I was raised in the suburbs, and just like in the middle of Pennsylvania, just yeah, and so just a lot of conservatism and stuff like that. And I didn't have anybody around me that I was kind of the weird one. People would be like, I got a lot of okay, or like, you're a dork, or all these sort of negative things, not in a horrible negative way. People liked me, but it was hard. I wasn't understood. And so a lot of us like that, right? Like, you come in wired a little differently, you feel things differently, you think about things differently, and you just kind of have to, just survive it. Now is the time where we're needed. Now is the time where we need to open up, not only to share who we are, because the world needs our gifts. They need our transmission. They need our imprint right now, but also because there's more of us, those gifts that we covered up, and just kind of put on hold and blocked ourselves from, even because it wasn't time yet, or we didn't know how to handle it. It's like they're wanting to come back on. They're wanting to come in, and they're moving out what's in the way, all the blocks and the ways that we've guarded ourselves. It wasn't time. Now it's time. Let's see what this one is. Oh, interesting. The Empress of Pleasure. She came up in the last reading too, and it's really coming through today as a card of just self-love, where it's like you're in the sunshine. You're in the sunshine, and you have your birds, and you're just plucking a pomegranate off of the tree, and but you're laying on this black and white floor, but she's laying on top of like a tiger skin. So it's like, this is what we're leaving behind, this sort of black and white, this or that, like the boxed in medical system, or the boxed in version or interpretation of reality, or our bodies, or all this. And you're just doing something completely different. You just spread out your tiger pelts, that's like Durga energy, like, come on then, like it's time, like if you come with me, then you don't need Callie to come and cut off your head. You can just come, just like lay down on this and rise up out of this. Choose this. There's a choice in this. There's a real choice message in this energy. Like, you can stay in that, in the three, the three of air. The air is the mind. The three, that third dimensional, boxed in, black and white, duality consciousness that makes you afraid, or makes you feel if you don't do it the way that you're programmed to do it, that something really bad is going to happen to you, and just all these things, and you're choosing. This is a card of choosing as well. You're choosing with your intuition which one is the truest one. Which one is the truest one? Not the one that's being offered to me, but which one do I instinctively go to? And that choice. Yeah, and then just being in your own energy, and just trusting your journey, like getting out of the fear, surrendering out of the fear, and coming into the garden of your own soul, your own intuition, your own guidance, trusting yourself, trusting the synchronicity. So this is coming up from the last reading too. Comes up in almost every reading, the importance of allowing your inner masculine to lean into the inner feminine, the soul guidance, the intuition, to take action on that. And that's how you transcend the duality consciousness, because you're not in this or this. You bring them together, you take action on them, and then you're creating from that third energy of when they come together. You're guided, this coming out underneath this card that I was reading as the soul. Your soul can guide you, because you're turning towards it, and it remembers the things you forgot. So when you open up that channel and you get outside of the mind and the fear and the third dimensional perspective, then you're guided and you can move through this. So that really being the name of the game, how to move through this energy. I feel it goes through this eclipse that's coming up. It's talking about what's been going on the last week, but then it also continues, because it is the new way of living. It is the new way of living. But there's something about the compression that we're in right now that's hooking us onto this, that's really asking us to surrender. And there's that magnolia flower. There's that ancient memory that's coming back online. It's also coming back online through the trials and through the crunches right now, because the crunches are what's squeezing out what needs to go. So trusting that as well. This is the magnolia flower. The heartbreak, the middle of the night anxiety, or the scare around the tick bite or the dental surgery, or however it presents for you, that fear threshold, that then you see that everything's okay. It is the transformation. It is the alchemy, and it's needed, and it's a part of it. And you can open to it, because it's here for you. It's here for you. It is the magnolia. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to do my Tarot of the Hidden Realm. Oh, look who it is. There she is, our favorite lady. She comes up in almost every reading, the Queen of Wands, and she's just so magnetic. And she's this, she's this, and the tiger as well. Usually the Queen of Wands has some sort of big cat, a lion. I think it normally is. Sometimes it's a tiger, but it's that same energy of just like she's in her power. And it's that whole thing of like, when you realize you don't need anything, you have everything, because you're not grasping, you're not feeling like, oh, I need this to be worthy or whatever it is. You're just in your power. Your circuitry is intact. You're not leaking energy. You're not trying to prove yourself. You just pull in everything that you need. So this is coming out above the eight of cups, which is that, everything that's going on is what we need right now. Again, the compressions, that's what we're pulling in right now, because that's what we need. But on the other side of that, in the letting go of everything that's in the way, there's just this magnetism that just pulls in. It's like a flood type of energy. This as well, where, it's all just flooding in. It's flooding in from that choice that you made long ago. It can flood into you, because you're cleansed and you're purified, and you're ready to receive it. But she's very confident. She's very fiery. She's very did I say confident? She's just really confident, and she just has a magnetism to her. She walks in a room and everybody looks, because she's just got that magnetism. And so, but we earn that through the trials. We earn that through the trials that compress us and shake things loose. This is what's on the other side of that. There's always a message of that. It's either her or the Nine of Cups, you know, that wish fulfillment, where she is that wish fulfillment. She's the state of consciousness that brings in the wish fulfillment. So those two cards are really connected for me in the readings. All right, I'm going to do another lunar card, and then I think I'm going to stop there. So this will probably be the last closing message. Oh yeah, exactly, purity. So it felt a little strange to be calling her as being purified, because she's just so damn fiery. You know, you think of purity and purification as the white, you know, and just that purification. But it does take that purification to get into that magnetism. So that just kind of driving that point home. What's going on right now is a great purification. So no matter what it looks like for you, and it's probably coming in, I guess I'm wiggling my table because my camera keeps going over this way, but anyway, however that's coming in for you, you know, it's whatever this is, whatever this fast energy is, that multi-layered, multi-dimensional energy that's coming through for you, like that, whatever the heartbreak is, whether it's something emotional or physical, or, you know, whatever it is, that's coming in, you know, it is purifying you. It's purifying you so that you can be in alignment with your with your soul and with what you're here for. There's a lot of I felt a lot of soul retrieval with that last eclipse, and I talked about that, and I think in the last reading as well. Yeah, that soul retrieval type of energy where we're just receiving more of ourselves. And I think that I feel that this solar eclipse coming up is where we really receive it, because it is about that illumination. It's about that illumination. So in the last eclipse and in the last reading, I was talking about that sort of like going back into old trauma and choosing yourself and choosing, you know, so there's that soul retrieval in that way. And now it just feels like, holy shit, just like a power washer that's just getting in there in all the corners, you know, that purification. But what it's leaving then is just ourselves and in our power and in our sovereignty and ready to receive. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens, you know, through this eclipse and through the equinox. This is what it's feeling like to me, more of this sort of power wash energy, but we'll see where we land and what clarity we get on the other side. But really, really big move. So thank you for listening and for joining in consciousness and for just kind of powwowing in this energy, a little bit of a breather together before we go through. And again, a lot of us are probably getting hit early. You know, it's like 5 days plus or minus around the eclipse. But yeah, it definitely feels like this kind of energy being the overall energy. So I'll see you next time if you watch again. And much love to you, and blessings in this passage. It's like, it's just so intense, but we're doing it. Even if we don't feel like we're doing it, we're doing it. And again, that our souls and our bodies know what we're doing, and surrendering and welcoming and having that gratitude for what's coming in, that ancient memory, that ancient purity. There's the purity again. I was talking about the purity of the magnolia. We're being purified. We're coming back to our pure selves. Okay, so I will stop there, and thank you. Okay, blessings. Bye.